Chanel on the border between Egypt and Libya. Thanks very much indeed. Right, we will take a short break. Still to come in this half hour. Lucky survivor. One woman is pulled from the rubble of New Zealand's earthquake alive, but there are still hundreds missing.
Welcome back. In India, we are seeing some rainy conditions down to the south, but not as rainy as they were in the beginning of the week. We saw some heavy showers down to the south, but those are now beginning to push down to the southwest. Still some clouds, though, anywhere up from up to Nagpur, up to also to Calcutta. That will stay in the forecast, but that's just some clouds. That's not going to bring any rain showers with it. Colombo, Sri Lanka, looking very nice over the next couple of days. But where we are going to be seeing a lot of rain is towards Mozambique, especially to the northern parts of Mozambique. Very heavy rain showers are going to be a problem. Now, we have seen 100 millimeters over the last couple of days. We have seen 20,000 people displaced because of the floodwaters in the river basins. And as you can see on the forecast map, very heavy rain showers are going to be the problem. A little bit further to the south, also some rain showers for Johannesburg as well as Durban. Cape Town not looking too bad at 28 degrees for them, but still very rainy over towards Madagascar, where they have seen quite a bit of rain from their last cyclone. Over towards the Arabian Peninsula, warmer temperatures. Look at this. Doha is going to be expecting 28 degrees. Riyadh at 32 degrees, and those temperatures are only going to be going up as we go into the next couple of days. Baghdad, though, 28 degrees in their forecast. Very warm temperatures coming up from the south. Normally 20 degrees for them.
He's taken stolen goods and he's now dumping them onto the world without any sort of consideration for consequences.
From people making the news.
If the North will be saved a lot of trouble, I think it is important that they should come together.
To those it affects.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines.
Most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Hello again. Let's recap the latest developments in Libya's uprising. The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, says Al-Qaeda is behind the protests against him. Speaking on state television a short while ago, Gaddafi said Osama bin Laden is manipulating Libyans. Meanwhile, forces loyal to Gaddafi have launched a fierce counterattack in towns and cities close to the capital. One witness has told Al Jazeera that more than 100 people were killed in Az-Zawiya, 50 kilometers west of Tripoli. Meanwhile, officers from the Air Force base in Benghazi have told Al Jazeera they are joining the revolution. And in the latest diplomatic defection, Libya's ambassador to Jordan has resigned. Now, with some of the Libyan military quitting and many others reported to be joining in the protesters, just who remains supporting the Gaddafi regime? Well, with only 40,000 people in the army, it was never the major power in Libya anyway. The internal security forces are the ones who are reported to have called in the recent airstrikes. They are Libya's secret police. And Gaddafi's brother-in-law is in charge. Abdullah Sanusi is thought to be the one behind the violent attacks on protesters. Within the army, however, there are some special forces who are loyal to Gaddafi's revolutionary committees. They defected to the protesters' side. If they defected, that would spell trouble for the Libyan leader. Perhaps that's why mercenaries have been seen on the streets and on the roofs shooting at protesters when the army refuses to fight. Extra flights bringing these men in from sub-Saharan Africa are rumored to be on their way. Finally, there are strong tribal links that do keep people on Gaddafi's side. He comes from the Qadatha tribe, many of whom are now part of his immediate entourage. Now let's move on. There have been other protests, of course, across the Middle East. And now Yemen's president has instructed his security forces to protect the protesters who are trying to end his rule. Anti-government demonstrations have been going on in Yemen since an uprising against Ali Abdullah Saleh began on February the 16th. Hashim Al-Bara reports from Sana'a.
Calls for change from the campus. Teachers and students joined forces for the biggest gathering of anti-government protesters in the capital so far. And following the deaths of 2 protesters in previous demonstrations, security forces were under strict orders to ensure the safety of the demonstrators.
We are in one of the main squares of the capital, Sana'a, just outside the university, which has become the focal point of the pro-democracy movement. Now, thousands of students from the university are gathering on a daily basis. They would like to rally the support of everybody here in the capital and across the country to enforce their agenda of change. They would like to see President Ali Abdullah Saleh go.
It's the first time people here in Yemen, from all the parties, from all the institutions, they are coming here to say to this man, go out, nobody wants you here, and we want to live our freedom. We want to be free like others. 33 years are enough.
It's clear the calls for greater democracy are growing, so too are the president's opponents.
I have resigned in response to the revolution of the youth, demanding the fall of the regime and the dissolution of the parliament, which is also part of the regime.
And in Yemen's conservative society, women are also ready to explain their role. Could you tell us why you're here?
For one demand, that is the demand of everybody in this gathering, is to ask the regime, Ali Abdullah Saleh, to leave the country and to leave the system.
And despite all the threats and the smear campaign by the official media, there is no sign of the opposition weakening. It's a sound that reflects their solid determination to keep on fighting for the end of what they see as an autocratic regime. Hashim Al-Bara, Al Jazeera, Sana'a.
Now in Bahrain, several thousand people have marched to the Pearl roundabout, the centre of last week's protests and the subsequent government crackdown. The march was led by political prisoners who were recently freed. They've been chanting slogans against the government and the royal family. Meanwhile, King Hamad visited Saudi Arabia on Wednesday for talks on the unrest. This being reported by Bahrain's state media. Now, Egypt's former information minister has now been detained on suspicion of corruption. Anas al-Fiki was arrested at his Cairo home on Thursday morning. The former state broadcasting chief Osama al-Sheikh has also been arrested. Both men have been banned from travelling. Back now to Libya and the continuing stream of people who defect from the side of Colonel Gaddafi. Let's talk to one diplomat. Adel Sweisi is with the Libyan embassy in Brazil, and he joins me now on the line.